All right. Hi, everyone. It's Jim Ferretti with the Vanport Bowling News. Today, I have the honor of sitting down with a bowler who actually just made Oregon State USBC history. Jamie Koster is the 2025 OSUSBC Open Division One singles and all events champion, making the first time ever that a woman has claimed either of those titles, let alone both of them at the same time. So, thank you, Jamie, for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. Where did your bowling career begin?
It began at Caveman Bowl in Grants Pass, Oregon, actually.
How did you get your start?
Uh, well, I was born into it. My mom, I think, took a week or two off to have me and was right back in the bowling alley. So I can fall asleep in the bowling alley, no problem. And I just grew up there.
I think that's how a lot of us got our starts, mom and dads, and then we all fell asleep in the bowling alleys and things like that.
Yep. Yep.
So, other than that, what drew you to the sport when you were younger, or was there a person or someone who got you hooked other than mom and dad?
Yeah, with mom and dad, they were always at the bowling alley, and so I always was down there with them. And when there was open lanes, I'd be down with my bowling ball. I think it was a blue, sparkly Columbia white dot or something was my first ball that got drilled from me, and I just was down always, at the line by yourself. And then they looked down and I was taking my steps and they're like, who taught you? And nobody could answer. And I did it myself and just went with it.
So, if I read my history right, it was about the age of 5, and I think your first average was 38, if I read my history right.
Yeah.
That sounds typical. I mean, that sounds like a lot of kids we have these days that are doing bowling. So,
Yeah. It's hard for me to watch young kids because they want to have the high average so fast.
yeah.
But I think too, with the evolution of how bowling has gone, it's changed so much from wood lanes and non-reactive bowling balls. That's just what we had back then compared to today.
Right. So I do want to show you something that I found. If you don't know, or people who are watching this don't know, I'm also the association manager for the state of Oregon USBC, and one of the tasks I've been assigned is cleaning out a storage locker, which I'm doing this week. But I've already been down there once, and I found this great little album, and there she is. I'm hoping you see the picture.
Yeah, 16 years old there.
Yeah, that is from the, let me look at my records here. It's off to the side here. May 20th, 1995, you won the Mabel Mars Star of the Future Award. How important was that to you to win it? And tell me about that experience.
It was huge back then. I don't even know if they still have the award today.
We do, yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
good, good. I'm glad. It's one of the things when you're in bowling, you're always looking for awards, whether it's local association scholarships or awards, and that one was recognized through the whole state. So that one actually meant a lot. I think I gave a speech. Thank goodness we didn't find that. But it meant a lot to win that, just to be recognized.
Um, did you do anything? I mean, it came with a scholarship. What did you do with that scholarship award?
I actually did 1 year at West Texas A&M.
Wow, okay. Now,
Yeah,
you said you grew up in Grants Pass. Are you still in that area?
nope, I'm in Washougal.
In where?
Washougal.
Oh, you moved to Washington State.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
So I left Grants Pass in '06
In
and moved.
'06.
That's my bowling ball there actually, and moved to Seattle. And
Wow.
both high school, both college, my 20s were all tournaments and everything. And when I moved in '06 to Seattle, I retired basically and said I don't want to do this for a while. Left all my equipment there. My mom would sign me up for women's nationals when it was in Reno or Vegas, and that was the only time I was home. She'd take my equipment for me. I'd go bowling in games. She'd take it home for me, and I'd leave it there, and that was it.
Wow.
And I finally was like, okay, I'm ready to get back, and I think that was 2009 or 2010, and I joined the women's scratch league in Seattle and Belleville.
Wow. Now, before we get to this year, I do want to go back and talk a little bit more about your youth. From what I've read, were instrumental in high school bowling in the Grants Pass area. You did what did you do? Because from my understanding, it was pretty important.
So there was no girls bowling when I was getting ready to go into high school, which was '92. Um, the boys had a team, and they had had a team for probably 4 or 5 years, but there was no girls team. I don't even really think we had a girls high school program in the state at that time. I think '92 might have been the first or the second actual women's Oregon high school tournament. Um, and my mom worked with the school to make it a club sport at Grand Pass. So I had a chance to bowl in high school. And then by the time I think my junior year came around, it was finally they finally considered it a sport, and we could let her. It was the same with my soccer career. Was the same way. There was no women's soccer when I got to high school. I was a club sport soccer player in my freshman year. So a lot of pushes and breaking the ceiling to make sure women had the same advantages.
It's pretty amazing where the sport, especially in Oregon, has gone because, like you said, 92, 93, 94. That's when I was in high school as well. And I didn't have bowling then. I had league bowling. That's what we did on Saturday mornings, but there was no high school bowling. And now, as
Right.
part of that high school program I'm part of that high school programs now, to see 32 teams battle it out at state, 16 boys, 16 girls teams. Here in District 1, we have so many girls teams now. And it's absolutely awesome to see that. Are you proud to see high school bowling continue to grow?
I am. I'm excited. I would love to go and watch the national tournament that they have for high school bowlers because we didn't have that,
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
you know? So, like all the things that's grown that we pushed for back then when we didn't have it, and to see where it's at today, it makes me happy. It makes my heart
Awesome. Well, 2025 will go down as an historic year for the Oregon State USBC and for yourself because you did make history. You are the first woman to win either the Division One singles, Division One all events, or both of them at the same time. Now, there are other women who have won singles titles and all events titles, but they were not in Division One. I know Melissa Gray won the Division Five, I believe, in 2018, both events. It's also a great accomplishment. But for you, as the first woman to, I guess, um, no better way to say it than stick it to the boys. It was it. How does that feel?
Oh, yeah. It's something I'm very proud of. Anytime I can compete against the men and the boys and do it well, makes me very like it's like I want to say it makes me happy, which it does, but it's also something that I worked so hard and always competed against the boys for so many years that I take pride in doing it well and trying to make sure that they know I will always be on my field.
What was different about this year? What clicked?
Well, I redid my span and redid some things with my equipment just towards the end of league two. So it's only been like maybe like 3 weeks before league ended that I did all that. I picked up a new ball the week before, had thrown it.
New
Uh,
ball itis. I like it.
it kind of, yeah, had thrown it, knew where it went in my arsenal, took it with me. Um, Team event went good. It was a good day. Come back doubles and singles. I'm like, if I can do what I did yesterday, I'll be happy. Started out with doubles. Started with one ball in the first game. Was like, this isn't working. I was texting Luke Stone because he's the one that did drilled on my equipment for me. I was like, texting him kind of like, this is what's happening. Went ahead and pulled the new ball out and just did the rest. So that was all with the ball I'd never thrown.
Wow, wow. And so, your teammates, how helpful were they during all of this and things like that?
They were great because they never mentioned any of it. So, which is good, because you don't want to talk about it while you're doing it. Um, I did, one of the funny things is like, it's one of those I got in a zone and I didn't get nervous. I didn't do anything different, but I did like I'd start to notice like people stopping and starting to watch and the planes around us slowing down. Um, and I tried to just keep my head down and not look up so that I wouldn't see everybody watching or phones out and stuff like that. Because I didn't really want to see any of that.
Right.
Uh, so I just keep my head down when I walk back and make sure I was set and trying to just make really good shots.
Well, I mean, one of the people with the phone was me, of course. Oops, I got to turn that audio off because I don't want that playing. But I was just kind of pulling up the video, and let me do that here if I can figure out how to do that while we're talking here. There it is. Let's see here. Pull that up right there. And now we're sharing that page, I think. Let's play that video. Maybe not. Maybe we're not. Any case. Oh, here we go. There we go. Maybe we're not. There we are. There you are.
Yeah, this is a good shot. This is that. I think the 10th. I had,
It's
but luckily it was fine.
turn the volume off. All three shots. Was it the first one that was Brooklyn?
No, the middle one was broken.
Here, this is the Brooklyn one, and you
Yeah,
knew it was Brooklyn right away.
I did. It's off my hand. I was like, no.
And this is the final for your perfect game at the Oregon State USBC Open. One of many during that those 7 weekends. But talked about this moment right here. You come back with your head in your face, or your hands in your face.
So, yeah, my dad passed away at the end of January, and he never got to see me throw a perfect game. So that I think was he did the 11th ball, obviously.
Yeah,
To me, like he made sure it struck, and that was probably the first time he got to see it finally from heaven.
that's so cool, and that's amazing. And I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, throughout your career, throughout your bowling career, I'm sure he was extremely proud of you all the way.
Yeah, he never missed a turn. He like if he couldn't miss one, he was there. Like they would drive anywhere to watch me bowl. Um, they surprised me in Dallas one week at Travel League and drove all the way from Grand Pass to Dallas just to watch, 2 or 3 games because it's my birthday. My mom was sitting at the stoplight in Bend when I shoot bowled the 300. She was down she drove up from Grand Pass that morning and was at the stoplight and missed it.
Oh no. Yeah. Something about your score too, not just the 300, but I mean that was if I remember correctly, that was the second or third weekend of the tournament, and
Mhm.
your scores held up through 7 weekends.
Yeah, I kept watching every Monday when it would come out. Like, did I survive? Did I
She's on
survive?
the computer. Come on, Jim, get me the scores already.
Yeah, I kind of get regret. Like, did I survive again? All right. So then the last weekend, I was down in Arizona and I saw Saturday's team scores, the big, scores coming out on
Yeah,
Saturday. I'm like, not gonna make it to this weekend. I just was like, no, too many big players down there, a lot of big scores coming out on team, doubles and singles are gonna have a heyday. I don't see like I'm like top five, I'm good. I was happy. And so before you actually posted it, BDA texted me and he
yeah.
was like, "Goodbye, you did it."
It was funny if I look back at the scores, I believe I can't remember who was second off the top of my head right now, but it might have been John West, and John bowled incredibly well. 800 the first set and seven something the second set, and then just the pin carry went away from him. So, but again, the fact that your scores held up and they were high scores, it's a good all event score is amazing.
Yeah, yeah, I shot it 7 all 3 sets, and
Yeah.
yeah, like I don't know what it was, but something that weekend was just perfect. It was a perfect storm of all of it.
So during the 7 week tournament, I split my time between there and going to the ladies tournament in Medford for 2 weekends. And I met and the same woman bowled the open tournament, Lois Schlecht, I believe is how I say her name. 94 years old, puts together, I think she put together 15 or 16 teams for the women's tournament, does it for the open tournament. 94 years old. And I told her at the women's tournament, and there was another woman, Doris, as well, who's 99. And I told them both, I said, I'm 49 years old. I'm taking the entire summer off because my body hurts. And here you ladies are in your 90s bowling 9 games in 2 days. So I got to ask you, as a female bowler or as just a bowler, what keeps you passionate about this game after all these years? And do you hope you could end up like Doris and Lois and bowling into your 90s?
I hope I'm not going in my 90s. No, honestly, no. Um, you know, it's one of the places I can go and just turn everything off and the world goes away for me. It's my relaxation place, really. I think if I've done it for so many years, I've done it competitively. I've put in that work of mental thing, figuring out how not to get mad anymore. It's just one shot, you know. But it's a place where I can go and relax and turn the world off, especially if I'm like struggling with, you know, my dad being sick or losing my dad. The first thing I wanted to do was go whole week because I needed something to just clear my mind. Um, it's the one thing that I have that does that, other than, you know, running outside or doing Pilates and all these other
Yeah.
things. But the bowling is a place where I don't have to think. Everything just shuts off and you just do.
Do you have any routines or mindsets that you rely on during competition?
I do the same thing every time I pick my ball up. Same routine, wipe the ball off, you know, slide my foot out a couple times, do an arm swing, get up, get set, and go. Like there's nothing to think about. To me, when you're up there, I've done it for so many years that if it's not going to work, it's not going to work, and if, when it does, it does.
If the shot's there, the shot's there. If it's not, it's sometimes you never have a look.
I found that if I think too much, I make the mistake I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
So just getting up there and bowling.
So we mentioned we talked about you in the 90s as a teenager bowling, um, and we talked about high school. So let me ask you this: what would you say to a teenage girl just getting started in bowling, or maybe who's been bowling for a while and bowling high school? What would you say to them now, and as you want them to look ahead to bowling in the future?
Don't give up. Don't give up. Work on the mental game because that to me sometimes more important than your physical game. You can teach physical bowling and teach the physical game, but the mental game is the hard part because especially if you're going to be competitive, um, either showing your emotions so your competitor can take advantage. Was always a big one for me, especially when I was younger. I did that, and Kevin Croucher took me aside and we went and worked. And he got me to be like, if you show them your emotion, they're going to take advantage of it. So it's something I worked on really hard is not showing emotion when I'm bowling. But I think for females, you have to be extra and better at that piece, especially if you're bowling in like open and you're bowling against men. Um, you have to be extra at that
Makes
because
perfect sense.
they will always look to take that, make anything they can get out of you.
Makes sense. Well, what's next for you? Any goals now or tournaments? Anything coming up?
Nothing coming up. I take the summers off as well. I
Because we're
like the
old,
sunshine
right?
and be outside. And that's something I've done for years.
Yeah.
I try to never bowl. I do have two tournaments in August I'm bowling. The Madras Swiss, which I think is like the second weekend in
Yeah.
August.
Coming up. Yep.
Bridgetown I-5 Showdown and Triangle. I'm bowling that, which is great, fun tournament. If anybody doesn't know about the Bridgetown tournament, they're one of the best and so much fun. But yeah, the women's Swift is my next, I think.
Very good. Well, Jamie, congratulations. Thank you very much. It's an amazing accomplishment for anyone. And we're so happy that you are part of the Oregon State USBC history books.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate this and getting to share my story and, you know, just be me.
She is the Division One singles and all event champion. Jamie Kostra, thank you so much and so long.
Thank you.